And we are live. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Late Show. I'm your host, Brad Hatcher, tonight, and with me is Matt Larson with Central Florida Bigfoot, who's co-hosting with me. Kerry is in West Texas asleep right now. He's working in the oil field, a little 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. So he is exhausted. And with us tonight, we have Blue Falcon Radio, and they were on about 10 days ago on the Researchers Report, and they are on a podcast, and you can listen to their podcast wherever you get podcasts. And they are super funny, and I hope everyone will enjoy this one again. I love when I get messages on my phone. Real quick, we have really good moderators. Moderators will time you out if you get out of hand. So everybody, be nice. It's the holiday season. So let's try to keep cussing down to a minimum. I know I got to tell myself that. And as I said, we have, here we go. We have Zach, Ben, and Ty with Blue Falcon Radio Podcast, and of course, Matt with Central Florida Bigfoot. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you doing today, Matt? Tonight?
Well, my day started at 3 a.m, and we did a charity fundraising drive for Feeding Tampa Bay and Toys for Tots and the Rough Riders of Tampa, and also One Blood. And we had basically a 12-hour charity food, toy drive, and I'm exhausted, but I'm here.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate you jumping on with me tonight. It's always fun to have you on. Always learn a little bit, and the fun stuff for tonight are these policemen up in Nebraska, Blue Falcon Radio guys.
Matt, you're nothing. Sorry, pal.
So it's going to be a little bit of a spitballing, but as I said, they were on 10 days ago, and it was a really, really good show. And so we just kind of want to elaborate on that. And one of the things that I took off of it right away was how y'all were looking at Kerry and saying how believable his story was based on his mannerisms.
Definitely, yeah.
And so what was what from your police experience, what do you look at to find that, or just to ascertain that you feel like this is truthful verbiage?
So basically, someone could tell you something, and someone could be really good at talking and whatnot, but all your body language never lies. Right. Basically. And when we were watching Kerry, we couldn't see his hands or his knees, so that was obviously difficult, but we didn't feel the need to, because of his voice fluctuations. How at some points when he would start talking, you could tell his heart rate would speed up. And someone who's lying, it's not like he's going to go to prison for the rest of his life if he's lying, But obviously his credibility is shit. Oh, sorry. That's the first one. It won't happen again.
We're going to have to write that down.
His credibility will go out the window, but he... everything about that story was just great, and how the detail is so good. Like, someone making up a lie is just, the detail is so amazing. And I've listened to his account probably 15, 20 times on different places, and he never misses a detail.
Right.
And that's big, because when you're telling a lie, you will miss a detail. You'll skip something, and then you'll have to go back. He doesn't. So,
no.
But like I would like to say, if you want to hook him up to a polygraph, or if you want to watch him, he doesn't move in his chair. Like, when he's telling a story, you could see him, like, he gets nervous. People start moving. They'll cross their arms. They'll cross their legs. They don't want to create separation from that person interviewing you. Mm-hmm. And even though he's behind a camera, you still see that because he's talking to somebody. So
very, very consistent. When you're talking with someone with trauma, who's endured a trauma, whether it be a sexual trauma or a physical trauma or some sort of abuse that they've experienced, he shared a lot of those same attributes. And I do believe that when he saw this Sasquatch in the woods, or whatever he saw, it really deeply affected him. And you can tell by the way he relives the story. That's what really hit home for me was, he's looking around him as he's telling the story as though he's back at that scene, as though he's back right there in the woods the moment he saw it. Like he's reliving it, and that's what really hit home. And what's interesting is to hear Ben talk about it as someone who is a skeptic, and he found it extremely believable.
Yeah, I was moved by it, and I have less training in kind of lie detection and stuff like that than these two guys do, but so mostly what I go on is gut. I know a few things to look for when I'm looking at somebody, and with Carrie, like they said, we couldn't see his legs or anything like that. You'll see if someone doesn't want to be there, they're gonna get their feet under them like they're about to stand up and leave. And I mean, I didn't see any indication of that. Like even in sitting across from a table, you can kind of tell even if you can't see their legs or their feet or anything like that. But
And to jump in real quick, a big thing is their arteries in their neck. If someone's telling a lie, that thing will be pulsating because they are so nervous. So if you want to cover your necks up, guys. But my question is to you, because I've never heard you two talk about it. What made you guys believe his story? Because I mean, you weren't there, and you guys know him better than we do. But what makes you believe his story?
For me personally, he was the first person, and I'll give you a little bit of background. I had my experience when I was 9-10 years old, and I hunt, and I've big deer hunter, hunted all over Texas, hunted up in Wisconsin and Michigan and whatnot, and so I've experienced a lot of things, but I was always really curious about Sasquatch. And so when I had a knee replacement and I was laid up, I started, on YouTube, and stuff started popping up. And the first channel that I started watching was a guy named Brett Johnson with Desert Sasquatch. And we had him on about a couple months ago.
That was a good episode.
I tell you what, I can't wait to go up and to where he is. But, so that's what got me into it. And Carrie, I always kind of wanted to talk about it, but I always felt like my story wasn't anything great. I didn't get scared. It didn't chase me. It didn't, it didn't growl at me. I just saw it in the woods, and I would be walking in the woods and I would see it like 40, 50 yards away from me, just kind of walking or catch it looking at me and stuff like that. So, but I was 10 years old and I had a 410 single shot. So I thought I was pretty tough. And sometimes I had a 22. So I didn't feel scared. But when I told my dad that, hey, I saw, I'm seeing a black man in the woods, and he'd be like, no, you're not. There's nobody in the woods. Because when we bought this place, it had been abandoned. It was about 1,000 acres, and it had been abandoned for about 30 years. So the house was completely trashed, and everything had to be redone. There was an old barn on the property that was right next to a lake where they actually used to load cattle, and my dad tore that down. And so, nobody had been in there at all in years except for us. And, so I just kind of was like, well, it's not bothering me and it didn't scare me. So I just, went about my business hunting squirrels and just exploring. And but then when my dad saw it with me, and I was like, see, there it is. And then he sold it within a week, completely got rid of it, never wanted to talk about it. It was just one of those things that I just knew not to say anything. So anyway, I kind of segued and ventured off the path, but I spoke to Carrie because I wanted to just tell somebody about it, just to find out if my story was worthwhile, if I was full of crap, pardon my French. And, we ended up becoming friends, and, that's how, I started, doing this with him. So that's how I got in it. Matt, I kind of took a lot of time with that one.
No, I pretty much stumbled across Bigfoot Odyssey about a year ago. Been kind of watching in the background, and started my channel about a year ago after watching another year's worth of everybody else's channel. So I joke that I have a master's degree in Bigfoot from watching way too much YouTube. Embarrassingly, way too much.
I'm with you on that one.
No, it's bad. I mean, it's really bad. I'm a boomer, so It's bad. It's bad. But I think with Carrie's story, what got me was the fact that, I was following along and everything was going and going. And then when he said, I never went back in the woods. And he paused, and you mentioned it too. He paused. He goes, I just never went back in the hood. I never hunted again. And I went, okay, that's someone who is a big guy, who is an avid hunter. How bad must it have been for someone not to go back into the woods? And I think that's that's what got me on Carrie's story. And tell you the truth, I was watching him a long, long time and didn't know he had a story. I was like, I think the last to hear about it. I mean, I caught it after all that. You said you watched it 14 times. I think I only saw it on the 15th time and only seen it one time after that. But that was it. The fact that he didn't go back in the woods, that got me. And I'm like you, Ben. I haven't had a sighting. I'm looking for a sighting. I went out in the woods just to see if I would see forest language or trail signs or glyphs or bends or breaks, and to see if I thought it meant anything. And I didn't think I would. I was a total skeptic. And the first time out, I started seeing stuff, but not only seeing stuff, but I started seeing it in groups of 2s and 3s and 4s in close proximity. And to me, that's what gets interesting, is when you see it in groups of 2s and 3s, not just one X or one break or a loop, but if I start seeing it in a pattern in a very close area, and then you look 50 yards later and it's completely all vertical trees, my antenna goes up and my logic kicks in, and I say, okay, now this is interesting. Why is it only in this patch of woods? And I'm seeing it down in Tampa, Florida, in Hillsborough County, really close to playgrounds, really close to roads. It's not off the beaten path. I do not have to go 10 miles out in Colorado to see anything. And I think what I'm finding is legit. I had an occurrence about a month ago, where, it was basically a tree break on camera at 0 degrees, owls going off, tree knocks, a white heron following me. It just, everything that could possibly happened in one episode, which has about 11,000 views on YouTube.
Y'all need to check it out. It's really good. And
it's just
great about it. It's crisp. You can see everything. It's not up to imagination, or you just go, oh, that kind of looks like that. I mean, Matt is really good at how he films.
I have 24 years newspaper experience as a marketing photographer, and then 11 years with a TV station, NBC in Tampa. So
yeah, and you were talking with Justin that episode about your cameras that you guys use, right?
Yeah.
And you have I don't know anything about cameras. Ben does. For those that know, these guys don't know Justin. He does the mountain monsters,
mountain beast mysteries, and he's I guess I just turned 30 or whatnot. And he's got a background. I think he was a firefighter for a little bit and also a guide. But he puts together really incredible short films. But he was an incredible skeptic. He wanted it to be proven to him, and well, I mean, tell me what you think, Matt. I mean, I think he's leaning that way big time, or he believes it.
Yeah, I think what happening to Justin is happening with me, and in that the more you go out, like people say, boots on the ground. I hate that, but the more you go out, the more you see. I know
that it's horrible.
It's such a cheesy. Let's get some boots on the ground, or the other thing, real quick, is downrange. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
can we not talk like that?
Okay, well, let's do a deeper dive on that, and then
I'm gonna head you off at the pass.
Boots on the ground, yeah.
But I think he started off like me, and the more he sees, the more he hears, the more stories he investigates. He investigates other stories and then goes to places, which a lot of people do. But Justin kind of takes you along on a cinematic journey because of his knowledge in photography, and he's made me rethink how I'll probably do a couple of videos down the road. But what I'm bringing to the table is professional videography and photography. I'm a photographer first, and just trying to get the other Bigfoot people, 95% of the channels, to step it up. And if they're going to use an iPhone, put it on a gimbal, and maybe think about getting a better camera. I'm using a Panasonic bridge camera. So it's wide angle in the 20 millimeters up to a 500, 480, I think it goes to. And it's a one lens fits all, non-interchangeable, but it's super high quality, and it can do everything. And what's nice about the Lumix is when you turn it on, the lens extends. It's a big camera. I got it here. One break, I can grab it. But when you turn the lens on, it extends out like this. But after you zoom from 20 to 500, it never moves. All the zoom optics are internally. So what that allows you to do is you can put it on a gimbal, balance a gimbal, and you can be walking with a gimbal at 20 millimeter and actually zoom into 400 millimeters and zoom back. And my pet peeve is everybody just shooting with a wide angle and on an iPhone without a gimbal. So, look at my hand. It's blurring. Okay, still frame it. Is that going to be a sharp image? Hell no. Stop it. Get real.
And that's why they think that they're always blurry, because
Bigfoot's not blurry.
if you see one, they're gonna be shaking like,
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And so if you're trying to do that while trying to take a photo while it's moving back and forth, I mean, you put two and two together.
Yeah. Well, if you're on a gimbal, it'll take care of the shake too.
Yeah.
So I'm here to get people to use a gimbal. It's just as simple as that. It really is.
Well, and if you check out that video Matt's talking about that he shot, it's pretty crystal clear, and you can see the difference immediately. And I think that's great, and I think that helps our cause because, like y'all were saying, everybody's catching blurry stuff. Nobody gets a good shot. It's when people are downloading it to YouTube, a lot gets lost with the compression or blah 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 stuff that I don't even know what it is. But to go back around to y'all's question, about Carrie, I was watching Bigfoot Odyssey until I watched all of the travel shows until he did the one with his own experience, and I never knew about his experience. And so that was, kind of blew me away, because then I looked at it very differently, and it made me go back to think about stuff that I remember that always kind of bothered me when I hunted. But then also it made me feel comfortable enough that I wanted to talk to Carrie. And, I could tell you when we went to Oklahoma, he's dead serious about, he doesn't want to go hunting. I mean, he is really, really, it bothered him. And it really bothered him. And you could just tell, I mean, you could see it in his eyes. You could hear it in his voice. Yeah. And yes, and one thing that's funny is he is a big guy. And I'm about 6'1", 245. And when Carrie came to my house when we were going up there, the first thing I said was, "Damn, you're big." I think everybody says that to him.
I know. I felt bad because my wife, I went home after we did our episode with the live one. I went home and watched it on my TV, and my wife was there. And she goes, I get to the part, I'm like, "You're a big guy. How big are you?" And she's like, "You don't ask people how big they are." I'm like, I'm not saying he's fat. He's not. I'm just asking.
Big old boy.
No, he looks like a linebacker.
Or a tight end in the NFL. I mean, you can just tell he's got some size on him. His forearms alone. But back to real quick, I don't mean to keep segueing, but Matt, you go out by yourself?
Yeah, that's the other problem is I'm solo, and I'm having trouble finding someone.
I'll go.
That I want to go out with, because I want to go out with a skeptic. I don't want to go out with someone who already has a channel and every time they go out they have a Bigfoot. I just think that's crazy. And I think Carrie told me, well, it depends on where you are. Well, no, you're not going to see a Bigfoot every time you go out. So I just, I'm not about that. I'm about logic and common
spot
and high quality stuff as much, and what's funny about the video I did, that's my most successful video. It was done on an iPhone on a gimbal, and I had my Lumix with me, and I just switched it up in the car. I said, I don't want to carry the bit because my rig is big. My rig is, I'm using a Zhiyun, gimbal with a 5-6 pound camera, and you walk like this for 2 hours, 3 hours hike, it's pretty tiring. And so I went lightweight and threw my gear on an iPhone, but on a gimbal, and had the best experience I've had so far. So now I do not shoot with the iPhone at all. I just try not to take it out of the bag because it's such a cop out, to go with the gimbal and to go with the iPhone. And then
that's all right. That's all right.
Then you're gonna miss what happened.
Do you know what a fishing belt or an angling belt is?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Would that make it easier to carry that? I'm just curious. Could you make a rig using one of those?
There are people doing that. Like
Okay.
like a little flagpole holder right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would help, and it's long enough. I can, I'll have to get it out one show, but it also has an extension on it. So the extension's probably up to 4 feet, which is nice. And then it has little tripod legs, but with the extension, you can actually lift it up over 8 foot tall palmetto.
Gotcha.
And what's nice about my camera is I debunk a lot of. That's the reason why I don't have a Bigfoot in every shot. Is that if I see something, I zoom in on it. Once I zoom in on it, I realize it's a leaf. And there's some great pareidolia out there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff it's just. Matter of fact, I have a Bigfoot PSA on my site where I show a face and I go, "What the hell is this?" And I, zoom into it and I come back and because I'm shooting with a good camera, I'm able to come in on it, 200%. And then you see it's not. And I said, don't believe and I bring up a title, don't believe everything you see. This is not a Bigfoot. Then it dissolves to black. And then the credits come up and the music is playing. I said, oh, and by the way, the music's fake too. I'm in the TV business. So I thought I need a PSA.
Hell yeah.
So, look, I love watching everybody's channel. I'm not dishing on anybody's channel. I don't mean to be. It's just that I think there's about 5% of the people doing this that are really honest and trying to solve the riddle and the mystery and the legend. And that's what I want to do. So I'm not going to put out anything fake. If I post a headshot that I think is something, I'm going to hashtag it Bigfoot because I am a Bigfoot channel.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell you 100% it's a Bigfoot. I don't know what it is. Matter of fact, the 5 or 6 headshots I have, all 6 look different. I got a green one. I got a black woman one. I have a scary face monster one. None of mine look the same. I have one with the forehead that sticks out like this, but it looks like someone watching my wife while she's on a trail. And, nothing I have looks the same, but I can't say it's not something. So I show it.
But the one thing I think that Matt, that what you're bringing to the table is teaching people how to film in a more, I don't want to say that's bad English, but in just a more efficient way. And like what we try to do here, what Carrie and I try to do here is we try to keep everything in our fairway, but we'll throw out stuff, or we'll have people who've had encounters say stuff. And I think it's good because it stays in the back of your head that, maybe sometime if you're hunting or something happens, you'll be triggered to I heard that here, or I heard that there. And I think that there's such, everybody's, I guess there's everybody's scatter shooting and just, trying to figure it out as they go when they film this. And, if I went to try to do it, I would be horrible because I don't know how to film besides if I'm taking a picture of my dog or putting it on iPhone video. So I think it's, I think what you're doing, Matt, is really helpful. And I know the Blue Falcon radio guys think that's helpful too.
Yeah. Like what you were saying, Justin, he goes out by himself in Ontario. Is that where it is?
Yeah.
Canada, right?
Yep.
And he says some stuff, man. Like the last episode he did was when he went out with his backpack. The part when he was walking through, he's like, a good thing I got through those trees because that freaks me out every time. You know what I mean? Then he got into the open. My question is to you guys that go out by yourself. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be the host here. I'm just asking a question.
No, you're doing a good job.
What's your feeling on going out by yourself? Like, I mean, after a while, I think I'd get comfortable, but all it takes is one just creepy feeling. And Brad, I'm going to send you a text. And I'm going to show you a picture that I found that if you could put up here, it'd be cool to say, like, if you saw this, what would you do? And would you want to go back out? So,
okay.
I found it this morning when I got off work because we work night shift. And I sent it to Carrie when I was laying in bed. And I said, Carrie, what would happen if you saw this? And he goes, it's not far off. And I'm like, oh, my God. So, yeah, that question, if you.
Okay, shoot it.
Oh, no, just, yeah, Matt, going by yourself. What do you?
Yeah, it doesn't get any better. Tell you the truth, I'm probably listening to everybody's encounters and listening to Bigfoot Odyssey. So one thing I like about the show, we're not hearing stories of the guy that survived that had his arm ripped off, or he got, the crap beat out of them with a log or a boulder landed on them. You're not here. Well, unless they're the 411, but that's another story. But you're not hearing about attacks, and they seem to be skirtish. They seem to be curious. If they are things and they are out there, and I kind of believe they are. But watching this and hearing so much of the encounters has actually calmed me down. Like, I think 2 years ago, and we live in the city. I live pretty close to Raymond James Stadium here where the Bucks play. It gets pretty dark here. I mean, I'm in an old neighborhood. We're not in a high area. I used to think twice going out in the yard. I used to think twice going to my garbage cans. I mean, it gets pretty dark out there. And now I don't even think about it because I'm kind of prepping myself. Like, if I can't take my garbage cans to the curb without a flashlight, what am I doing in the woods? But yeah. I've calmed down quite a bit. But
I don't do anything without a flashlight.
Ben has 4 on him every time, just his vest, 4 or 5 flashlights on shift.
My main concern is injury, a snake bite, because most of my videos are in 2 feet of water in a swamp. I'm going off 50, 60 yards. I never lose sight of the trail though, just because I am by myself. I got lost when I was when he was talking about his encounter. My brother and I was in Green Swamp, and he heard some turkeys, and we're in an open Jeep, and he pulls off, and he literally, I am not kidding, walks 60 feet into Green Swamp or Golf Hammock up here in Central Florida on the coast. And he's listening. He goes, "There's nothing. Let's go." And I go, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Back to the car." I went, I'm like 9, right? I go, the car's this way. And he goes, "No, the car's this way." Lost for 4 hours.
I was just going to bring up, I've never had an encounter or anything like that, but you were saying, like, you think you'd get more comfortable the more you're out there and stuff. Well, like, I think I was in my mid-20s or so, and I got lost in Colorado, like, out in the mountains on a camping trip. And if anything, I was far more comfortable before that happened. And then, like, that kind of changed things for me. Like, I'm much more careful after spending, 8 hours not knowing where I was going.
For sure. And like in 411, the recent one that he did, if you haven't seen that, his basic is your GPS locator. If you can have anything, have that, a firearm, and a light.
Well, y'all are familiar with the spot system? It's I call it the oh crap button. It's basically a satellite transponder that you can text off of, and also hit a SOS. And they'll zero in on you.
That's what I was talking about. I don't know the name of it. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, where you hit a button. And is that what you got right there?
That's a Garmin, isn't it?
Yeah, I bought the Garmin and Instinct, and I hooked it up to the buddy system. So when I go out, I just turn tracker on, and my wife watches me, and she goes, "What an idiot." She goes, "You're an idiot."
That's why she loves you. If they're calling you names, they love you. Well, it's the part where they're like, "Oh, whatever you want to do." Okay, now we need to have a talk.
And that's why my wife made me take that spot. Somebody's saying, do I have an echo?
No.
What?
Okay, so people in the chat are saying I do.
Just a tiny bit.
Okay, because I can hear myself on a reverb.
Is your room airy?
A little bit. You need a $12 lav.
Yeah, probably so. Let me
maybe we'll email you, or we'll send some headphones in the mail to you.
Oh, look at these guys. They got a board and everything, Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to hit the mute and let me know if that's any better.
Talk.
Yeah, you sound a lot better now.
It's
Yeah, I don't hear an echo.
I'm sorry. You kind of walked right into that.
Well, I set that up. There's a little bit of comedy for tonight.
I think you look. I mean, dang it.
See?
Yeah.
Carrie's been saying that I need to get better. Because I'm using the AirPod Pro, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It does help.
Yeah, I think I heard myself laughing a little bit, and I'm guessing it's from you.
It probably is. It's been one of those days.
Yeah.
It's been one of those days. But I just completely forgot what I was going to say.
We're talking about the Garmin Instinct watch and GPS and the buddy system.
Oh,
and Matt being
Bound
an
we're
idiot.
talking about bound Overwatch and shooting lead down range and all boots on the ground.
but then also hunting by yourself.
Yeah.
And I've always hunted by myself. So it's, I can tell you there are times that I remember being in
Yeah.
the woods and being freaked out for no reason, where it just felt something was up, not even the woods being quiet, but just something was wrong. So when that happened, I would just get, and that was, so when I see people like Brett Johnson at Desert Sasquatch, he does everything by himself, and it's just,
Well, he's crazy, you know that, right?
He marches in like 10 miles, right?
no,
I
he
mean,
does.
To get where they are, and that alone, I could take some stuff. I've been in some fights with some big boys on the street, but
You can't call people big boys.
oh, I've been, but I don't know, man. There's more than Bigfoot out there. There's obviously wolves, not lions, anything that can kill you. Timber rattlers, that'll get you, and you got to walk back out. You ain't got a lot of time. So, there's more than Bigfoot that'll do it. And honestly, the listening to the show, the Bigfoot are your least problem. A lot of time,
exactly.
a lot of time they're just watching you, and you got to get over the fact that this 12-foot thing's looking at me. But how many times have you really heard of anybody? Well, you wouldn't hear it because they're not around, but. Like them going like this thing, like what do they call bluff charge? But then it stopped. A lot of times it's just intimidation. That
I got killed by a Bigfoot, Zach.
You're an idiot. So, but anyway, like what I'm saying to wrap that up, it's just like they bluff charge, and I heard you guys talking about, and Carrie said this: if you're going to go out and you're going to hear the calls and the wood knocks, you don't turn around and leave. You push deeper if you really want to get some answers. So.
Right.
Well, I know that now. I didn't know that then. And being that was the first encounter for me where everything was going off, I kind of went the other way. But then about halfway down the trail, I made a part 2 video to pull people back in. But I made a part 2 video where I stopped and started doing the long zooms because I love to be in a swamp and put it about 200-300 millimeter on a gimbal and just let the camera drift. It's a really... I tell you, my rig is pretty sweet. I just got to force myself to want to go big.
Well, has anybody ever been bitten by a rattlesnake or had one or seen one in the wild?
Yeah, out here we have.
Yeah.
I've eaten one.
Yeah, it's here in Texas. We always wear snake boots, and I've been struck twice in my snake boots by a rattler, and both times. It didn't even rattle. I just caught it. And then one was about 3 or 4 feet. One was a couple feet, but it's still, what Matt's saying and what you guys are saying, stuff can happen. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be eaten by a coyote or a hog.
That sounds like a terrible way to die.
Yeah.
Oh,
because you know how they eat, right? They start at the back and work to the front. They don't start at the So just for you viewers, think about that.
Would y'all ever see the show Deadwood when they would throw the in the hog? Yeah.
Yep,
But they're I shot a hog last year, and the broomweed was about up to my waist, and I waited about 15 minutes because I didn't hear it anymore, and I took out 357. And I, slung the AR over my shoulder and took about 10 steps in. And then it just was like, this is nuts. Because if he hits me, it's so thick, he's going to knock me down. And if he gets me down, I'm screwed. Because he's going to, I could see the tusks on him and he'd slice me. So I literally 10 feet in, I was like, no moss. I'm not even going to try to find him.
Yeah,
just for that reason.
And I've never been in the Florida area, but my mom used to live in Kentucky, out by Somerset, Kentucky. And
I know it well.
Yeah, my mom used to live out there and in Indiana. And Indiana's thick too, but Kentucky was...
very thick.
Yeah, there was creepy, man. My mom used to live outside of town of Somerset. If you've ever been there, you go out of town, and she lived in a cul-de-sac. And about one night, about 1 a.m., I couldn't sleep, and I just started walking around the cul-de-sac, which is about a mile circle, and her backyard just would go to wood. Like off her deck would just go to woods, and it's creepy. Like in at night, you know what I mean? And these people that go out by themselves in the daytime, I think that takes a special type of person. Like you really got to know this is out there, knowing the other things that could just shred you apart within 5 minutes. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you start realizing that the older you get. And I mean by, I can't believe all the stuff I used to do in my 30s and even my early 40s hunting by myself. And there is no way I would go walking looking for Bigfoot by myself. I just, even if I had a 454 Casull with me, wouldn't do it.
That's what Kerry texted me the other day. He said, "Look it up."
Oh yeah. Well, when we were in Oklahoma, we were staying in a trailer, and Mark Copeland was so nice and setting this up for us. And I woke up about 2:30 and had to go to the facilities. Well, you know, inside of a trailer, it's just awkward. So I went outside and was sitting there, and then all of a sudden, I was like, it kind of dawned on me where I was and why I was here. And that Mark had said, oh, well, one had looked through the window right here and put a handprint not that far from where I was, you know, going to the little fella's room. And literally, you talk about, whoop, turned around, and of course, I kicked my foot on the steps on the way up. But that kind of spooked me. That spooked me. And Kerry just kind of was like, yeah, that's why.
I don't go outside.
Well, yeah. Well, he wasn't going to go out. Once everybody chilled out, he wasn't going to go back out. But that night, Mark's parents or his mom went to take the dogs out in the middle of the night, and the dogs took 2 or 3. And you have to go down a big front porch where they live, and the dogs went out about maybe 5 or 10 yards, started doing that stranger danger growl, and like backed up and wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Wow.
So that's kind of.
When you were going to the bathroom, did you feel any kind of way, or did you hear anything?
Relief.
Other than some relief, maybe you sound like a diesel truck starting up. Prostate.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, the bad thing was that I was barefooted and the wind was blowing the wrong direction. So.
So I got on your thigh.
Yeah.
So it came back.
Exactly. I got him. Yeah.
No,
it blew all the way back, but it was.
The reason I asked that is because I just feel people feel like, you know, when you stand outside the tent when you go to the bathroom on in the woods, you're like, okay, I gotta get back in because creepy. But did you feel anything like different creepy?
Intuition.
Yeah, like an intuition, like they say, like, oh, this thing's right around the camper and you didn't know it. Did you hear anything walk up?
No, I felt like, why am I taking a leak outside when I'm here?
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the night, when I did have a pistol on me, and I just wasn't thinking. And then, of course, immediately I didn't have to go again, and whoop, you know, I was inside fast.
Yeah. It's like a kid running up the stairs after you turn the light off. You think something's going to chase you and grab you.
Oh, no,
That
totally.
I will not do.
Well, totally. 'Cause
No.
Because where I was, I didn't want anybody to see the house or where they were, so I kind of walked further away from the camper, which is, I didn't want to, be disrespectful by, taking a leak out in the yard where I'd rather go over by the fence.
Oh my
But
God.
then it was like, holy cow, this is, I looked up and that's where, he got a picture of the 9-foot one standing next to the tree. I could see that tree. And here I am doing this. And I was like, oh, I was, no. And so then, as I said, I want to go to a Seinfeld episode. If you yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the
How cold was
the
it?
shrinkage.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
So I hooked him back in very quickly.
Yeah.
So
And-
I got a quick question for you guys. So the other night we were at work and we had just arrived at work, and the firefighters, we share a building with them, and they were all looking in the sky, and Zach shared this experience with him. But explain real quick, briefly, what you saw, and then I'll follow up.
Well, I got to work, and all the firemen were out back, of course, cooking as they always do, and they're grilling out back, and they're like pointing in the sky, and I'm like, "What are you guys looking at?" And I look, and it's a line of lights, and literally perfectly spaced apart. So it was moving. It was moving like a ship on water. I sent the video to Carrie, and he's like, "That's weird" and whatnot, and it just was perfectly. It looked like a Star Trek, invisible ship in the air.
And you estimated they were about 37,000 feet in the area.
I mean, it looked like an airplane height.
And how many lights?
Not like a satellite where it's way up there.
How many white lights were in a line, did you estimate?
Well, the fireman said it was over 100, but when I got there, it was just finishing up, but I would say 20, 30.
So you found out that they were...
Elon Musk lights. Has anybody heard of that?
Satellites or something?
Yes. So
He's got a chain of satellites that orbit the Earth, and they're going to provide internet to everywhere
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time.
So my follow-up to that is, have you ever seen something and then you in your right mind you were like, that is something out of the ordinary, that's an unexplained phenomenon, but then later found out an explanation for it? Have you ever experienced anything and then later found out it was something else?
Huh. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with that one, Matt, first?
I've never figured out what it was, but the viewers have heard this. But when I was about 8 or 9, I had a sleepover with 2 friends, and we all saw a black cowboy enter my room. It was actually, I woke up and it was already in the room where the 3 of us were sleeping, and looking down on us. And we were on a bed that we had broke because we were bouncing on it like a trampoline. And so the bed was broke on the floor. I wake up out of the clear blue, look up, and there's a cowboy sitting there. And I said, "Who are you?" My friend wakes up and he goes, "Matt, who is that?" And I said, "I don't know." And he turned around and walked down the hallway and just dissipated. So we never figured out what that was.
Wow.
So,
That's,
I don't know.
yeah, that's good. What do you say to that? I mean, that's...
I believe that there's paranormal. I mean, maybe you've seen it. I mean, we had a ghost in one of our houses where I have 2 sisters, and it was in Nebraska here, and before we moved here, it was a house, and me and my mom were watching TV, and the lady said that they've heard weird noises when we bought the house, but my parents obviously failed to mention that to me when they bought the house. And so we and my mom were sitting in the living room, and both my sisters, it was Saturday, were out at friends' house, and it was just me and my mom, and we have a big open, high, tall ceiling living room, and big frame that walks in the kitchen, and I look over, and I see a head peeking around the corner of the frame inside the house. And I was like, "Hey, when did you get home?" I thought it was my sister getting home, and didn't say anything. And did it again. And then I heard just running and nothing. So I thought it was my sister's, but it was obviously a girl. But I don't know. So yeah.
See, that's we have a ghost in our house right now.
You should move.
Well, here's the deal with this one. There was I don't know how many. Our house was built in the 40s. In 1940 actually, and I guess it was in the 50s. A girl that lived there was killed by a drunk driver, and she was a teenager. And so I can be the only one in the house, and we're office right now because of the pandemic, and I could hear somebody walking around upstairs. And our dogs will react to the noise of somebody walking. And on numerous occasions, I can catch something peripherally. I don't even know if I said that correctly. Just I can catch them going around a door corner or a door jamb. And what I've done is and this might sound stupid, but I said, hey, you can stay here. Bring your friends, whatever. Please
bring your
don't.
demons. Bring them
Well,
all.
I just said, don't scare me. I just said, please do not scare me. You can hang out, just don't scare me. And knock on wood, it hasn't. But I don't know if some of y'all might remember that I lost my dog back in August, who was, my once in a lifetime best friend, the best dog ever. He was a rescue. I had him for 9 years, and I was sleeping, and this might maybe tear up a little bit. And it was like my wife went to bed early. I was downstairs on the couch. I kind of fell asleep for a little bit, and I swear to God, he was right next to me. And when I went over to pet him, I couldn't see his face, but it was him. And then I kind of woke up and he was gone. Now, does that count as a ghost, or does that count as a, still grieving? But it bothered me so much that, I immediately woke up and I was like, son of a bitch, because it was so real, but then it hurt and it made me miss him. Yeah. So, I don't know, I don't even want to try to explain that one. And because that was like a mean, it was cool as it was to feel his presence. It was mean because he wasn't there.
It like gave you hope that it was real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, no, so, I believe.
I mean, that one effed with me. I will, that one bothered me.
Yeah, and I believe people do have pets that come back like that. Real quick, I don't mean to, but what you said something about, Brad, about how you can stay, just don't scare me.
Yeah,
I've heard on people's accounts where a Bigfoot had been on like the perimeter of their house, like a single lady in the woods says, "Hey, you can stay, but just don't do anything. Don't do that anymore. Can you stop, please?" And they will stop. I've heard them say that they said that they won't run and hit the house in the middle of the night with their hand or knock on the window. You know what I mean? And what's your take on that type of stuff? Do you think they understand our language, or because there's some weird gibberish out there that would creep me out if I heard that in the middle of the night?
Well, what is it? The Sierra tapes with the gibberish that sound.
Oh, with Moorhead.
Yeah, Moorhead's deal.
Oh,
I don't know. It seems.
Creepy.
I know when I've gotten scared hunting, I'll almost be like, you're not there, you're not there, you're not there, you're not there. Even though I have, I might be hunting with a 300 blackout or, a 270 or 30-06 or whatever. It's kind of almost mind over matter. If I don't know, for me, logically, the only thing I could do with this ghost, my wife heard it. It was evident, and I'd go upstairs and nobody would be there. So it's just like, okay, if just don't scare us, hang out. This was your house before our house. I hope we're not pissing you off. Just be cool and we'll all get along happily. And as I said, knock on wood, it hasn't bitten us in the butt yet. So I don't know. What about you guys? Besides the ghost in your house, anybody else?
Well, there was that one that we touched on the last episode of Bigfoot Odyssey we were on. I think it's Dogman. After Carrie showed that.
Oh yeah, I saw that video. That video, yes. That was creepy.
Yeah, it was.
That was creepy.
And he called me, like, if you guys haven't heard the episode, he called me at 1:30 in the morning, and I was sleeping. And when you guys see something you can't explain, you gotta tell somebody, and it don't matter what time it is. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter, and that's what also gives credibility to stories. Excited utterance, all this stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if we can go ahead, Ty. Sorry.
Well, it was just cool that we were able to, we were in a vehicle that allowed us the recording capabilities to go back after the fact and record it as part of our in-car dash camera setup in the police car. So that was cool. But all I can explain is, this thing, I saw it. I was looking straight ahead, straight down the road, and I was waiting for oncoming traffic to, I rarely give speeding tickets, but I was running stationary radar, and I see this thing. It just flew across the road, and we estimated it was about 44 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Took three
it was between
steps.
45 and 55.
Matt, have you seen that video?
What I actually came up
I
with.
did. I watched that episode to see what you guys were all about because
Which is
I'm
nothing,
a new fan
so.
tonight because I didn't know.
And for everybody in the chat, that was on the last the researchers report, not this one this past Wednesday, but the previous Wednesday, and it's about 20, 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
When they showed that video, and it almost looks like, oh God, what's that television show? And I just saw it, the hour-long episode of Santa Claus with Fred Astaire. Oh, it's one of the claymation deals, and it's the old man winter because it looked like it was in
Frosty.
white.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was something like that, but it was, the way it was moving, but it looked like it almost had a white garb on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was just, I mean, that was just trippy. That
To
was
me,
trippy.
I could see the couple steps, but right at midway of the road, it almost looked like it was like a step, jump, slide. Did you all
Yeah, it
see
was.
that?
I mean, it was like
was
in
weird.
real time. In real time, I mean, because I was there in real time, so I saw this thing, not through a screen, which I'm fortunate enough
How
to.
far away was it? Because it looks farther than it is. It's not that far.
It's oh man, I'd say 50 feet from where I was.
50 yards.
Well,
Or, yeah,
50
50
yards
yards
away, because it looks like
Half
it's a
a
long
football
way. It's,
field.
I think it's a little longer than that.
but
not-
anyway, so the point is that it congests. The dash cam will make it smaller, make it look
Yeah.
like it's far away. So
But yeah, in real time, I'd say half a football field away, and I mean this roadway is about, what's the width? You think?
it's
a 2-lane roadway with a middle turn lane. So.
yeah, so five. Is it 2-lane there?
4
Yeah,
lane.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
turning
it's
lane.
going from 4 to 2.
So it's at least
Sorry,
30
sorry.
feet.
It's I mean it's too big for a normal
It is
person
big.
to go and clear it in the amount of time that it did. I mean, it took 1 to 2 seconds, and I could see in real time 2 feet just clear this massive space in like 1 to 2 seconds. And immediately, I mean, there's been few experiences in life, but that was the first time where I was like, this is not, this isn't normal. What I just saw was not normal. I got goosebumps. I started tearing up. And I needed support.
Did you lock your doors? Did you lock your doors?
I
on
think
your
they were
car?
already locked.
Okay.
But the first thing I wanted to do was try and find an explanation. And luckily, Ben, he was coming from the direction I had just seen it run from. And I wanted to go find it. After, I had someone else with me, I was like, okay, let's try to find an answer here. But we never found anything. But then what really got me was the follow-up video that Carrie had in response.
Oh, that was creepy. Yeah,
Oh,
it looked
my-
exactly like it, didn't it?
And I will tell you that is exactly what I saw. That is the closest thing, because I tried to find an explanation online. I never found anything. And then Carrie showed that video, and it just brought me back to that night, because I think it was April something.
Something at 1:22 in the morning.
And it brought me back to that moment.
Yeah, I think that was called the "Oh Hell No" monster.
I don't know what it was, and it got into that light in the middle of that intersection. It still was there. It
But
didn't
it
like
kind of
dissipate.
like disappeared a little bit.
But like, I mean, it just
It was
like,
weird.
If you want to see it up, it's a better quality if you have it like on a smaller screen where it's not so distorted. So
Right.
like on your phone or an iPad or a computer.
Right. And like we said last time, you can email bluefalconradio@gmail.com, and some people did, and I emailed them the footage. So if you would like me to send that to you, just
think-
email us.
I definitely like to see it. And I know one question that I had for you guys. Since you are the establishment, you are the
I like where this
the-
is going.
you know where I'm going with that one?
I know.
I'm feeling
It
attacked.
can go either one of two ways. Either you hate us or
Or
No. This is a good question that I bet people would want to know and ask.
shoot.
You hear the stories about if somebody has an encounter, especially on their property, they'll call. They think since it's a Sasquatch, let me call the warden. Game warden shows up, then the feds show up, then it gets real hush hush, and nobody saw nothing. It's like everybody goes, 100% Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing. So with that being said, drum roll,
Go on.
what you got to think that you guys have heard some stories from your brethren in Nebraska about the big guy.
I like, Bradley, how you did that. You've heard stories.
Oh
It
yeah.
was like a late show. Listen, George.
Well, I was going to do the
like coast to coast stuff
tilt.
right there.
Yeah, I was going to do the tilt like the Bigfoot did to Carrie.
Oh,
with
man.
the- like that. But-
scares me thinking about it.
So
I
basically,
mean,
what he's saying is, we know you know. So just give it up
Yeah.
live right now.
No,
I wish we did know.
but
Yeah.
but to your response, it's true. I mean, I know we don't see the problem is in Nebraska we don't have not a lot of sightings here. There's just not a lot of cover. Carrie thinks that the North Platte River runs through here and there's trees and stuff that run it, which they could be on, but I just don't think we've had reservations. They did the show up in Macy, Nebraska.
Right.
Carrie did a show up there and whatnot. And I talked to that guy on the phone. It was actually kind of ironic. I don't know if you heard that story that I told, but it was ironic that I knew him. Barry, I didn't know I knew him. My my sister's boyfriend, we were sitting after Thanksgiving talking, and he's from down east by Omaha. And he goes, yeah, Barry, I have him in my phone. I know him. I live 20 minutes from the reservation. I'm like, what? And he goes,
No
yeah.
way.
I'm like, really? Yeah. And he goes, yeah, I call him right now. So I was
that's
drinking
so cool.
some bowl of bourbon, and he calls him, and I talked to Barry for I don't know how long. And I tell Carrie, I'm like, oh, this is a small world after all, isn't it? So I think the game wardens know, and I think their bosses and feds say, hey, if you see something, we need to not let these people know because, one, it screws with our revenue. And if there is something, people do not want to come out here that is creepy. Like bears, people can deal with that, but you see how people act with bears. Like, we need to put our food up, which is good, but put our food up, we make sure all things are locked. But if you got something that's smart enough to open a door, to open, break something, I mean, flip your car over. I mean, you think people
like you see in the park with people with buffalo. Excuse me for interrupting, but you know how you see over the summer, oh, let me get a close-up picture with this buffalo. I bet I can go scratch his ass while nobody's looking. And then, somebody gets, run over by a buffalo. Go figure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or they're feeding them with their window down. And like
Oh, yeah.
Yellowstone, when then like they're feeding them and like elk put their big old antlers in their car and then they just start shaking, Like, I mean, that alone will kill somebody, but something with some intelligence that can snap a deer in half, twist and pull, and walk out
Bradley, to answer your question, we can attest to the fact, we haven't had any experiences or conversations that we've had of people that had, law enforcement officials or anything like that have seen Bigfoot. But we can attest to the fact that while something's under investigation, we can't speak about that with anyone. So, if there's this unknown entity like Bigfoot or whatever you've got, if that's an active investigation, no one's going to know. They're not going to let the public know. So that's, that's probably happening.
And I think it's cool that you're able to show that video, though, of whatever that, like the ghost got scared and was running like it stole something.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was neat that you're able to do that. So it's always a question everybody wants to know because everybody assumes you guys know because you are part of the system. You're kind of like feds, right?
Oh,
when you pull us over in Texas,
feds.
Yeah, when you pull us over in Texas, we have to roll all the windows down and put our hands on the steering wheel and say, CHL, CHL. To let the officer know that we have a concealed handgun license.
Oh, really? Gotcha. I kind of like that.
Oh yeah, because if you don't do that, because obviously it's a safety concern. If somebody's walking up and somebody has a CHL,
right,
and they're not letting the officer know or being considerate enough to let the officer know, and that basically shows that you're one of the good guys by doing that.
Yeah.
And in Texas, everybody's walking up because everybody pretty much has a gun in their car anyway. So if you want to get up, not get a ticket, you follow that guideline. And usually, unless you're doing something so stupid, they'll just say, hey, pull your head out of your butt, slow it down. You can't go 60 in a 25 or whatever.
That's what I do. I am not writing a ticket. I'm not writing a ticket. This is a waste of time. But like to ask you guys a question, I'm not going to speak for other researchers because that's no. But David Paulides, I think that's how you say his last name. Everybody says it different. He knows. He's a retired detective. That's what he used to do, and he knows what's going on. I think he knows that these things are causing these issues. There's some random people that go missing. I get that. Mountain lion may drag a kid, up a trail, up a tree, and be missing. But I want to ask what your guys' opinion is on that when it comes to their clothes are backwards, people are naked, kids come out of nowhere and say that they stayed with a bear for 3 days. A bear took care of them for 3 days. What's your guys' opinion on that? I mean,
go ahead, Matt.
The little kid, I think he was like 4 years old, spent time with the hairy man. They said, or was it a bear? Or did he say hairy man? I thought
these two ladies with a dog. Remember, they were searching with the dog, and they're like in Utah maybe. And she said it was like a foggy morning, and this little kid just came out of nowhere.
Well, there was the one was it North Carolina or Virginia?
I'm thinking of where the bear or Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That one I believed, but I tell you, again, my logic kicks in first. I probably think more like you guys, like what's the most likely scenario? But I tried to watch a couple of the 411s, not the hunters, just the 411s, and my mind immediately went to stupid parents. I don't mean to offend anybody, but
Well, there was that one episode.
so you got a 6-year-old, and okay, walk 100 yards up the trail, go get Grandpa so and so, you're fine. I mean, give me a break. I keep a closer leash on my dog than these people did their children. So,
well, and if you haven't watched the hunted one, watch that one. For everybody,
I did a review on the other one on my Instagram. And basically, and everybody needs to know, you guys are on Instagram too and Facebook, right?
Yes, at Blue Falcon Radio.
And you can follow my personal one if you want. I do that all the time. So
you got to chunk it out there. Your personal one.
Yeah. I can't
I want to check out your Instagram because I went back to your first. I went back to your first podcast and you said, "Oh, if you want to see what we really look like," and when y'all first started, and you said you had to do the first podcast 3 times.
And this is actually really good the way that y'all's camera points down because I can see you.
Yeah,
but I can't see you well enough.
Well,
and the beard. I mean, it's nice.
Well, see, that's why I have my this is my Bigfoot mustache.
Yeah, I love that. And the hair even.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's I'm a 70s kid.
Bradley, I'm sure they're in disguise. We know that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're actually transitioning to a video podcast. So we were speaking about cameras earlier, and Matt, I'd like to get your point on this. So we're gonna have 3 different cameras, and then we're gonna be on YouTube. We're gonna, transition to a video podcast while also maintaining the audio only. But so it will no longer be this. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Like our female guests love it because angles.
Yeah,
I guess. But we're super excited. We got a lot of cool stuff. We actually just booked Cliff Berrickman
next Thursday.
Oh, nice.
He's going to be on our podcast. So
very cool.
And I met him when he was out here at the convention down here in Hastings, Nebraska, and he's a really nice guy. I'm excited. So we're trying to get Wes on, but he keeps on. He's busy all the time, with his podcast and whatnot. So I was hoping maybe we can just catch him sometime. I'd also like to get Stacy Brown on. Stacy Brown, has he been on this show?
Not if he has been. It hasn't been since I've been involved with the show.
Yeah, I haven't seen him on, but I've seen him on other things. So
he's really good, and his footage, if you haven't seen, is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so,
I ended up buying a FLIR after I saw a lot of his footage. I have the Scout, but again, I'm testing the Scout, and I wouldn't believe anything coming from it unless someone professionally was holding it steady, and it was a Stacy Brown type footage where it's going left to right, where you can clearly see it. But going out in Florida and holding a FLIR Scout and checking the campground out and what little bit of playing I've done with it, I wouldn't trust anything if someone said there was a Bigfoot. I mean, you can get dead palms in front of green palms and they wiggle, they float. It looks like, this going on. And so, again, be careful what you're looking at. But I think what Stacy Brown had was, very believable. And that obviously was movement. And it was very clear, something was doing that. But we're not using the high-end FLIRs you all are, I don't think.
Well,
$600, 160 pixel.
Hey, I have buddies
in Western
that
Nebraska, neither are we.
But camera angles. I like the tight shots, but you need to keep this one. You need to keep your B-roll.
Yeah, we can do a 4-split.
Yeah, I suppose. Now we have a Canon T1i and a Canon T5i as our 2 cameras. Are those? What do you think about those?
I would need to look them up. There's so many. I'm not up on every camera. But
right.
what I do when I talk to people and they want help with their camera is I'll shoot them an email, like what I did for Bigfoot Odyssey. I'll shoot them an email and I said, what are you shooting with? Show me your website, show me your Instagram, show me your YouTube channel. Tell me what camera you're using, whether it's Bigfoot or portraits. My wife and I are fine art photographers. So I literally review their website and then find out where they want to take it and then start the conversation from there. If you were approaching a museum with a portfolio and saying, this is my body of work. And they say, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to find Bigfoot. Okay, well, you're using the right camera, and just start the conversation there, not all the way back. So that's what I do. But I would have to look at the camera. But what you got going now, this is a great shot, and a couple of level ones would be great. Maybe one and two, like whoever's the lead. If there's a lead between you guys, I haven't seen enough. Have a single on the lead, and then maybe two sharing, and then keep the wide, and just kind of go back between the three, and it makes it real interesting.
How can
I like this angle. Oh, well, y'all can. We'll give y'all each other's information after this.
I'll give you my Snapchat.
let me ask you guys.
I made a note on that. I
will. I will get all the after we're done here. We'll get all the information so you can see live action us working at night shift.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. You brought up the one thing about 411, David Pilatus. Do you think, since he is ex-law enforcement, that what he's doing, since he can't say specifically, that he's kind of giving a hint to what possibly could be happening if something was going to happen with his background, how he's viewing it? I got to think he's not pulling it out of his rear, but he's trying to say, hey guys, pay attention here.
Well, I agree. And the best thing is he doesn't say up at the end, he just does a shoulder shrug. He goes, possibility. Or a big thing that he does, I just went blank, but a big thing that he does is like, he lays the facts out. Mm-hmm. And then one thing that he said that the FBI does not come out for missing people until they rule it a homicide.
Interesting.
Or kidnapping.
Or some sort of crime has occurred, because being a missing person is not a crime. It's just, we got to find you because it's a safety issue.
Right.
But the FBI has came out on several occasions where they found this person. Weird. The two guys, FBI showed up, and they're like, what are you doing here? Well, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So why would FBI show up if it's not a homicide? And why would they show up for a single homicide on federal ground? Like, I know they're FBI, but state police can handle federal, national parks and whatnot. So that's my question. I think
that's a good question.
They know something, and I think, and another thing is big, is where all of a sudden you'll see these national parks where all of a sudden people are having weird experiences, and they'll shut that down. It'll put gates up and say, this is now a refuge. You cannot go on here.
Well,
so
we discussed that. We discussed that with Justin up in Canada with First Nations shutting down areas where they will find something that they don't want disturbed by the public, and they will shut it down with the same, like it's a, I want to say it's a religious, not a religious, but it's a spiritual, it's a sacred, it's sacred ground.
Sacred ground.
And they can do that, and they will do it. And that's why Justin said, if I can find the cave with the bones, I'm not going to tell anybody, just because I don't want this to happen. If I say something, or if I give too good of a clue on where it is, that all of a sudden, you'll have a bunch of people up there researching.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I show I give a lot of respect to people that have these, but they go, I don't want to show you the location. It's undisclosed, but here's what I got. That's really cool to think about. I mean, that's even gives more credibility.
Yeah. Because you got to think people are always trying to figure it out through Google Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you guys feel on the whole Bigfoot theory, on the kill, not kill?
I was just going to ask that.
Good question.
Telepathic.
I got
all the way
you,
all the way.
We're asking the questions to you.
Yes.
That was like we're in Step Brothers. We're asking you the questions. We're now interviewing
we turned it around.
Yeah. I think you shoot one because you cannot prove it without a body. And why not? It's in the name of science.
You guys will take it. You guys will take it and it'll disappear, though.
No, I'll put that. Have you seen Harry and the Hendersons when they throw that thing on top? I don't care. No, I mean, but
you'll call it Daryl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. What I do is when I stumble across a film on Amazon Prime, and Justin's was one of them, I watch it and do a quick little review, and I give it 1 to 4 feet. And I just started watching these. I only have 3 up, but I'm gonna keep it going. The last one I watched, I had never heard of, and they went into the people living in this habitat area, and they're really walking around with weapons, and they're trying to take one down. That is their main goal. And I was like, that's horrible. And the more I watched it, I went, oh, and they go, we're gonna, take one to save the others. And they kind of went into this whole bit on the science side of it, and I went, wow, now I'm really conflicted, because the film made a lot of sense, and I'm not in that camp and was never in that camp, but it does get me thinking, like, well, what is this thing, and aren't we all trying to figure it out? So I don't know what I would do, but I would tell you, of the 4 or 5 I've seen, 4 I could easily take down and wouldn't really think nothing of it, because it looked like a monkey. The last one I saw on my channel that I called The Nest, part 3, it's a black person sitting in that nest. I mean, it is not a chimp. It is not an ape. It looks like the old Aunt Jemima, the original logo, a profile sitting in a nest. And what I did was I went back to the nest to see, is the nest big enough for a person? Is there a place for it to sit? What would it be leaning on, and the whole bit? And I go through this whole thing, and it lines up. There's a tree for a back. There's 3 logs for it to sit on and 18 inches of water. There's another stump where it put its feet. It's like a lazy boy recliner. There's a window that lines up with the exact angle I shot the head. And it's a chubby black person. And I could not, if I had that in my sights, I could not shoot that, because it was very human.
See, I think it's karma.
I don't know what it is, but that one freaked me out. And it's the clearest shot I have. And I haven't seen anyone else with a Bigfoot photo that everyone else hadn't said was fake as what I have, 20 miles from my home in Hillsborough County in the Tampa city limits.
And that's on your channel. We can all view that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
See,
It's
I
on
think
it's on Instagram too. I have a wide shot, a video still capture with an arrow pointed to it, and then I have the step in of the head, and it's a chubby, fat. It looks like a chubby, fat black woman headshot. And it's not fuzzy. I mean, I shot it with a 400 millimeter lens through a black hole. All I did was Photoshop.
Are you team shoot or team not shoot?
Man, I don't know, because I'm not. If you miss, or if you hit the wrong spot, or it's got some sort of special armor that prevents it from being, the skin or the pelt from being penetrated, you might die.
But you gotta go headshot though all day. But then you get the question: if you got a 308, you hit it in the head, it's gonna split it like 2 valleys. Then how are you gonna look at the head? You know what I mean? So,
but if you shoot one like that, there's always 2 or 3 with them. Everybody always says there's always. So if you pop one like that, I think it's one of them's gonna get you. But you always hear, well, I will shoot one if it's attacking me, or if it's going to attack me.
Yeah.
I think though, if you're going to get attacked, you're not going to know it. I mean, you're going to be dead immediately. You're not going to have time to pull a gun out. So I think that I don't know if I'm mad enough. If I saw one eat my dog, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You saw that Florida guy who, his little dog got
snapped with the alligator. Yeah,
jumps in there.
He jumped in
apart like a beast.
Yeah.
If it ate my dog or killed my dog, I'd go. Yeah, I mean that's a given. Yeah. But I think that's a given with any. If you're protecting part of your family, you're going to do that.
True.
So I think it's a karma. I do think it's like the ghost in my house. Just be nice. Don't jack with me. Hang out. It's cool. If you drink a beer, put another one in. Be polite. Don't scare me in the middle of the night, because that would suck. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I guess no one knows until they're really put in that situation. I mean, like with y'all. I mean, when the situation comes down with, you're in fear of your life. It's such a specific call that there's so many variables that it's hard to say, well, yeah, maybe, or
ooh, cramp.
Well, you know what's funny? It's a good point because you're trying to when you go deer hunting, you're like, do I want to take this one or not? But do I want to wait? But for something like this, I mean, let it ride, man. Like, I mean, and if like who's gonna like people are like we're gonna get charged with homicide if it has human. What statute is that? Is there a statute that says
Must be human?
If you shoot a Bigfoot and it has human DNA, you're gonna get charged federally? Find me a federal statute and we'll talk. So I don't know, Ben. What do you think?
Man, I'm not gonna kill anything that I'm not gonna eat or that isn't killing me or somebody else.
In the name of science, I'm proving to make it go farther.
No, I'm not gonna do it. I mean,
So what would you do instead to prove that you had just witnessed this thing? Is there any measures?
I don't even think I'd feel that need. I'd sit there and I'd say, I saw it. I don't even know if I'd ever talk about it. I'd just say,
Oh, bull.
really?
I would have a hard time not. I would have
Bravo.
a hard time. I mean,
Like it, especially with you. Like I think I'd just sit there and be like, in my head, I'd be like, yeah, I saw Bigfoot. And
You
then I
would
wouldn't
tell him
No,
for sure
I don't
that
think I'd
you
tell you
saw it.
about it.
well,
So, have you guys ever went out together and done
No.
any looking in the woods?
no.
or-
So actually, that's a great segue, man. We got great segues. Carrie, guess what, Carrie? You can stay at work. We're good from here on out. We'll take it over. Thank you. Good night. I've been talking with Carrie. We're gonna go down to Florida. My wife is gonna have a baby in June, so we have.
Oh,
to
you
go
going
for
on the
that.
suicide trip?
Yes, we're going down to where Mark.
Oh,
where Mark
Zasky.
Zasky. Yep. And
Okay, so I'll be there.
okay. Well,
Oh, yeah.
so
I
we're
used to have a
planning that
lot of
trip.
respect for you guys. It just went out the window.
Well, I can't wait because I just got the recent photographs from Carrie the other day, and those are
That's
creepy.
creepy. Or
Yeah.
Zasky just had one that was a no doubt. I mean, it's one of the
Today?
best ones I've ever seen. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago.
Was it the one where it would look like an ape to me? It looked like a big ape
It almost looked like one of the creatures that we have on the
screen.
background. Yeah. I mean, it was good. It was a good pick.
No, we're all three going down, and we're gonna go.
Oh,
do
wow.
it. And it's gonna be in the summertime. Not when you guys go down to do your next episode. Not that.
Okay.
We're gonna go down our own, and Carrie, I have the text, and I will prove it. He said, "I'll go out with you guys." So
This is with the
going
drone with
That's what I said.
thermal drone.
No, not that. We're gonna go do our own down there, and Carrie's gonna meet us down there. So if you want to go,
Oh.
Yeah.
So we're
Well,
doing
come
on
to
our
Tampa.
own.
Come to Tampa. I need a hiker with
We'll go
me.
everywhere.
We want to go down, so it's gonna be when it's the June, July,
When you can't
it's
dry off.
1,000-degree. Oh,
See, y'all
humidity.
are young enough for that. Y'all are
For
so
sure.
young enough for that.
Is there any time in the summer in Florida when they're really active, or does it not matter?
I don't know enough.
No, Have you heard anything?
I think it doesn't matter. I mean,
They're
they're
gonna be
always
there.
based on
Yeah.
what Zasky says. They're always up to. I mean, they're living life.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Y'all need to look at the on YouTube. There's a video out, and I don't know if it's been proven a hoax, but to me, it's one of the better ones. It's called the Lettuce Lake Bigfoot. It's Lettuce Lake Park. It's literally a park, a family park,
right
and
now.
it starts in the Greenway north of Tampa, and basically you can go all the way across the state of Florida. But it's the Lettuce Lake Park Bigfoot, and it
Cool.
basically shows a Bigfoot stomping around the cypress, pretty much very close to where I shot the headshot of mine. Stomping around a cypress tree. It looks like he's fishing, and a guy's in a kayak or canoe, and he pulls up in the sticks. The only thing that bothers me about this video is that he's clanking the canoe a lot, and he's not that far away. He's not shooting with a Lumix like I am, so it's not like he's shooting with a 200-300 millimeter. He's probably shooting with a 70-80, but which is too close. And this thing never looks up or never notices he's there. That bothers me. But everything else about it and the way it looks and what I would expect one to look like and act, it's phenomenal. To me, it just creeped me out. And it's probably within 5 miles where I shot mine.
Wow. And there's a couple in the swamp that really creep me out. Like if you're gonna fake something, you're not gonna walk through a swamp. I mean that I've been to New Orleans and I've been on a tour on the airboats.
Yeah.
Those gators are just coming out, and you ain't gonna walk. I'm not gonna walk through there. And the guy who lived there his whole life said, "I don't go through here. Like I'm not walking through here in the channels." And he said two things. He goes, "I'm not walking through here, and I'm not gonna be out here after dark. So we're gonna end this real quick." And he lives out there. He's like, "I don't know what's out here." I don't know. New Orleans and Louisiana is a different world, man. And
No, it's
creepy at night. I know that. But there's another video that you're talking about. I don't know if it's the one. Was it the one you're talking about where things ripping the bark off the tree? Is that what
I
you're
was
talking
just
about?
going to talk about that one. Yeah,
That one.
Very
and then,
similar to that.
And then he has a snake. One has a snake in his hand or something. And he's stepping through.
That's the lettuce lake.
That one. And that I wouldn't. I mean, that's creepy. I wouldn't fake something in the swamp. When it's up to your waist.
Well, being that my area is a swamp and I've been out in the swamp, if I wanted to fake something, I could fake something. But I never would. But I used to say what you're saying. Nobody would fake something in a swamp. But believe me, it's not that hard. So because if you watch what I shot, you can see that me and a buddy, I found someone to go out with me, and we go out there to investigate this, what I call a nest, only because everybody else would call it a nest, to see if it would support a being. And it does, and it would. So, but could we have done something stupid and made a production out of it? Yeah. But, who I hang out with never would. And that's why I'm solo, is that I want to make sure, it's guys like you that are skeptical, but just want to discover what the real thing is and not just.
Right.
I just don't like being played with. I don't like being teased like Bigfoot caught on 4K and you go click on it.
I hate that. And people, when they talk about Bigfoot and they're like, they start laughing, immediate conversation over. You're in packet. See ya. Thanks for coming. So, and I sent you that picture, Brad. Did you get it of the one?
Yes.
I don't know if you could put it on the screen or not, but that is something that if I saw that would make me never come in the woods again, especially if it was coming at me.
If I can, this is all I know how to do it.
Yeah. I guess I could
hold on.
Try it with yours. See if it.
Holy crud! That is good.
Well, it's not real.
Is it a website?
There we go.
It's not real. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
It's not real. I sent that to Carrie, but Carrie said that one. I mean, it's not real, but that's pretty. He said
resembles the face.
It's not far off.
Yep.
It's not far off. He said that's of not what he saw. I'm saying, but that's not far off of what they are out there. And to me, if I saw that in the woods, walking by myself,
I'd be like,
and that close
no,
away.
No. Yeah.
I mean, that's just creepy. And that's what I'm.
That's when your knowledge of Tarzan movie. Now I'm dating myself, Bradley. That's when the knowledge of Tarzan movies come into play. You grab that one little, weed grass, and then you put it in your mouth. You lay in the water, and you're breathing out of the weed. You just lay.
As he grabs you by the nape, grabs you by the nape of your neck, and then just picks you up and
chucks you.
I don't know whose channel it was, but they said, these things eat you crotch first, right?
Ooh, yikes! What do you guys think? What do you guys think Bigfoot is?
Thank you, Matt. La. I didn't hear that one.
What do you guys think Bigfoot is? And I've always heard that on Wes's show, and that's a great question because I've always wanted to ask that.
I say
go ahead,
flesh
Matt.
and blood.
What's that? Sorry.
I say flesh and blood. I think it's an animal. I think it. I have a background in archaeology too, so I studied Florida anthropology and archaeology. So, I think it's some sort of a missing link of some sort. I was watching a couple of videos over the weekend of the giant people up at upstate New York, which was really interesting, and the swamps and the bogs. And in Florida, you learn a lot about bogs and what that does with pH and preservation. So it's very, very plausible. I mean, we got warm mineral springs down here, that 100-foot deep springs that they found, caveman stuff 10,000 years ago, at 100 feet. And, basically you do 1 or 2 dives with brand new dive gear and it's trashed afterwards because there's so much salt in it. Wow. In the spring. It's a salt spring. And it's a heavy content, so it's hard to get down. Your buoyancy is really... See, I was really into underwater archaeology. So I was into Mel Fisher and treasure salvaging, and is Mel a bad guy or the archaeologist right? And I just wanted to learn about, well, what is Mel doing so wrong that makes him wrong? And now I get it, destroying of history, picking up items without a grid, and doing his homework, kind of like us Bigfoot guys who call themselves researchers, but they've never taken a note. I don't call myself a researcher. I'm an explorer and a fine art photographer, and I happen to shoot video and film. So I don't claim to be a researcher, but if I was calling myself a researcher and someone asks to say, well, let me see your logs, you know, I think you need to have some scientific data and you need to be following scientific research. But
see, I think I'm definitely not, and I like what we do here at the Late Show and what Bigfoot Odyssey does. You know, we have our fairway. We try to stay in it. I know the show that you guys did with Carrie 10 days ago, and you brought up, what do you think of Dogman? And Carrie was like, well, I kind of really don't want to, because it's a whole nother, even though there's successful Dogman channels, a lot of people believe it. This is where we're focusing. And you know, I will say I am intrigued, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting when we go on the Florida trip with the thermal drone. I'm actually looking forward to that, because I think that, you know, that's really going to say it all. If it's nighttime and Carrie's picking something up on the drone and saying, okay, Brad, you need to walk 20 yards that way. You know, I want to make sure that whoever I take with me, that I'm faster than them. So, you know, but that was my segue in, you know, a little levity. But, you know, I've hunted my whole life. I am curious. I think it would be phenomenal, but if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know, I personally enjoy doing our platform and meeting new people, but then also allowing other people to kind of say what they believe in, you know, kind of like the Bigfoot 2020. If people can get something from it and store it, and it comes back and helps them, or it helps them realize that, you know, they want to come forward and not be ridiculed, that they're at a safe zone, I think that that's good. And that's kind of where I know I am right now. You know, would I love to see one, even though I was 10 years old and didn't know what I was seeing? Yes, without a doubt. Do I know how I would react? I want to think I know how I would react, but that's the great unknown. I mean, that's kind of like if you're scared of something, you know, some way to only conquer it. It's like if you're scared of heights, go jump out of an airplane. You'll either do well or you'll suck. So I don't know.
Pass out.
Yeah, I mean, and you hope that the guy, you know, you don't pass out when you're doing it by yourself.
No, I agree. No, I just think Bigfoot's a form of human being that has sources of autism. And that sounds really, really strange to say, but there's times when you hear these things, when Carrie's example perfectly, where they've been used to him for so long they've been used to him. And then Carrie says one day he mixed up a call, and then it got upset because, you know, if an autistic person, if they don't have the routine that they have, they will freak out. And this thing was like, I got to see what this is, and lost his mind. And there's times when, think about the structures that they make. I mean, it is perfect. These trees that are being carried in from nowhere, and they're balanced perfectly. I mean, I know a human can do that, but I mean, these trees are heavy, you know, 10 feet in diameter, and there's no chain. I mean, you can't bring a machinery through there. I mean, there's no trackway, you know what I mean? And people can go, well, there's logging roads. Well, have you ever actually been in the woods of Canada, or any of these woods that are thick as heck, even the Rocky Mountains?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't bring it. I mean, it's just creepy. So I think they're a form of human being that has just escalated into something else, and it started back. I think they've been here longer than we have. I think that's why they're so good in the woods. And they're not alien. They have nothing to do with alien. I think they know how to bend the, what's it called? Light. Not bend light,
reflected.
But like they know how to blend in perfectly. I mean, when you live in the woods, that's your job. And
they're the best at hide and go seek.
Yeah, and one more thing, I think the Native Americans could sneak up on somebody, and, you know, you wouldn't even know it until they got a knife around your throat. So
You think they're natives of this land?
Oh yeah.
If that's the way I'm going to go, if one of them's going to get me that way, I definitely don't want to know it.
Exactly. I mean, I want them to go, I just want to feel something, and that's it. Like, just something grab me, and that's it. So
yeah,
I don't think they do that, though. I just don't feel like they are about that unless I just don't. Unless you're between their child and them. And even then, I don't have a theory, but I just think that a lot of people say that they're between their baby, and they will expose themselves just like any other animal to get your attention away from that child, the child can make a move.
Yeah, kill deer.
But what do you guys think about this? A lot of people also, you know how dogs, it seems like I can always tell if somebody's a good person or a bad person. You know, I rescue dogs. You know, I'm very fortunate that so far every one of them has liked me. And that's one reason why I'm not so mad at to hunt anymore, because I'm just not mad at creatures right now. But, you know, the whole, you know, I don't know. I tend to believe that they can also sense if you're a good person or not. And I don't want to sound wishy-washy goofy when I say that, but I think they know if you're an ass, maybe you're one of the ones that are 411.
Yeah, maybe your social security number is gone. I agree with you on that. Like, oh, where'd what's his name go? I don't know.
I don't know. He wasn't.
But you know what? The whole way he was complaining. The guy was a complete pile. I mean, good riddance.
We're reporting missing in a couple weeks.
I hope nobody listening to this has a member of the 411.
Yeah.
I will feel bad.
I know. I don't know.
I gotta go to the bathroom real quick though.
Between us, how many people we've ticked off?
Well, I tell you what, we have a good group in the chat, and we're hitting about $130. And I want to put out there, if anybody in the chat has any questions, please put it up in all caps so I can see it. And I'm obviously copying Carrie when I say that, but it actually helps. If anybody has any questions for the Blue Falcon Radio guys, or Matt for that instance, or matter of fact.
I've got a question. I thought it was a little bit
you need to put it in all caps so I can see it.
Yell it.
I'm not going to do that because I can get very loud. So we were talking about earlier whether you would shoot Bigfoot if you saw it. What do you guys think about what's better for Bigfoot, him getting discovered or him being in this kind of ambiguous state of existence that he's in right now? Like, is it easier for him to blend in and he doesn't have all these researchers coming to study him because they're skeptical, or would it be better if it was known?
God, that is such a triple loaded question.
Well, that question's answered in the film I just watched, and they're saying it's better for the Bigfoot or Sasquatch because they can't protect them unless they have the facts. And so that's kind of what they're doing, is taking one to save the species. And so it's interesting.
I don't want to be that guy that does that.
Are we being arrogant by assuming that, though? Maybe they're perfectly capable of taking care of themselves.
Obviously so. I think.
Yeah. And the big dilemma is now is whatever, what I'm picking up on is that, if you prove they exist, then all this protection kicks into place, and then the logging industry goes to heck, and then all the stuff starts, all the dominoes start falling. So that's logical. I mean, it would be logical for the logging industry to be
somebody's awake
behind this. But now I'm in trouble. You said he'd be asleep.
I thought he would be, but he's. I'm sure he's curious.
Wait, Carrie's here?
Oh, he just popped on
Odyssey.
in the chat.
Oh, there he is. He's probably
that wasn't me.
He's making sure Ben doesn't cuss.
Yeah,
or
he's the
making
best
sure
I'm clean so far. Zach's your man to concentrate on the night.
Guys, make sure you go to my Instagram and look at the last film I reviewed. It's probably the last post. And look at that film. Just jump ahead to the last 45 minutes because it's really good. But these guys are living out there year round. They don't go back. They switch out groups every 3-4 months. They're walking with machine guns. I mean, they're there for the kill. What's really weird is, okay, how long has it taken you? Like they said, they wounded one already, but they're not sharing photos. So, whenever someone says, oh, we see them every day, we just don't have photos, or, I thought I was on video and I was on still. It's like, okay, flag.
Hey,
So-
here we go with the question. Kurt Seltzer, what do you think about what Mark Barton said?
Yeah, that's scary. Have you all seen that Mark Barton bit?
I don't know. You have to maybe explain
He
that
was
more.
he was on with Carrie and the researchers report. I believe it was the researchers report, and it was right before I came on, and basically he was with another crew, a researcher in Florida, and he was, pretty avid and pretty, would go out by himself and was really hardcore researcher. And he had an episode. He
was our audio guy.
Yeah, and he had a really hardcore. He had a really just frightening episode, but it was very emphatic, and he knew the particulars, and you could tell he was incredibly upset when he was talking about it. He was extremely believable, and he came out with a whole bunch of theory, or not theories, but just what they told him, the good ones, a whole bunch of stuff, and it's kind of, I can't even do it justice. So maybe Matt, you can do better than I can with it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of theirs. It's Chris Connor's group, the Trail to Bigfoot. They're out of over there in the Lakeland, Orlando area. I hope to meet these guys someday. I really want to go out with Chris and them. But basically what he's saying is, once you're basically, we're the hunted. And so basically these entities surrounded him by himself at a campfire, told him that we were the hunted, basically that we're arrogant humans, and that once you're tagged by this Bigfoot creature, only that person or creature can mess with you, or basically will be the one that takes your life. They will play with you. They will give you pawns to bring you back into the game. Like if you start getting frustrated and losing the search, they will give you
a little matrixy.
Yeah, and I tell you, when he told that story is when my encounter went down. And so he was saying, he referred to it as the pawn. You're given a pawn, which basically lures you back in. Every hair on my arm was standing up. I was so freaked out because I had just shot a monkey at Crooked River in the bushes, which was the pawn that got me all excited. And then the next time I go out, I hear the wood knocks, which got me excited. And then Mark Barton comes on and tells his story. I get freaked out. I'm saying I'm done. And then I go out, and then all of a sudden this big encounter happens, all while the Mark Barton stuff is going on. So that got me into I need a partner. I got to find someone that is in Central Florida that, I'm a weekend warrior. I like I said, I work for NBC, and I go out when I can, but I go out a lot. So, but that's his story, and it was very believable. I followed these guys for a couple years. They're
incredibly believable. I mean, you could feel the angst, or you could just feel the raw emotion in Mark, and
anyone on that crew can say something, and they're borderlining now. It's going into the demonic and the dimensions and the lights, and they're crossing over into that now, which I don't want to believe, but that's kind of where they're going. And but I tell you, I believe anything anyone in that group says. They're a good group. Interesting. And so now they're just kind of taking it easy and regrouping. So they're in a regrouping phase, but very honorable group.
Okay, here we go with this one. How do you say that? Arn Harvick. Have you guys heard about the man found in the woods near Lippon, Texas, December 3rd? Unknown animal attack. Oh, that was, I did actually. I'm in Dallas, and they had it on the news, and they originally thought they were saying it could be a mountain lion, but then they kind of shut it down a little bit by saying it was not a predator, but they didn't say if it was a homicide or there wasn't a follow-up. I believe that was it was south of Mineral Wells, or kind of in that area if you're going out in West Texas, right near, not far from Comanche, I don't think, but they said it was not a wild animal, and then they kind of just left it. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard anything else about it.
I've never.
It was in the news this week.
We don't get a lot of news up here for that, so.
You don't hear about Texas stuff all the
No,
time?
unless it's something big. But Colorado, which I choose not to listen to Colorado stuff, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, Washington, D.C. kind of dominates national news, and
Yep.
that's all
Yeah,
we get.
the Cowboys just got bumped from, or the Cowgirls just got bumped from Sunday night football. So hopefully that will help
Steve.
Dallas. And anyway, I don't even want to go
This
there.
right here, all the
What?
way, right here. Steelers,
can't even-
Pittsburgh.
Oh, of
Pittsburgh all
course.
the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we drafted a
Is it Pittsburgh
Taco
that has
instead
the
of
terrible
TJ
fans?
Watt. terrible
No, it's
towel.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, do we want to wind this down?
It's up to you. If I go, it doesn't matter because if I got to go home and put a baby room together. So
Okay.
either way,
So I'm getting a text from the other guys that say, yeah, they want you to have to do that.
Oh, okay.
Have to do it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm Sergeant Schultz on that one. But to everybody out here, again, we've had the guys from Blue Falcon Radio podcast. You can hear their podcast anywhere podcasts are available, and they're very funny, as you can tell tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, this is kind of fun. Y'all turned the tables on us.
We do
You-
that.
We tend to
You
do
were
that.
interviewing us instead of us.
And
We
we're
interviewing y'all.
sorry for that.
We
Every
get
time
curious.
we do that because
Hey,
it's just we like to hear ourselves talk. I think we're sorry.
well, no. This has been fun, and obviously with Matt in Central Florida Bigfoot, and he's the savant in photography. That was good. That was my big word for tonight, savant. But
Usually that word has a descriptor before it, and it's usually either autistic or idiot.
see, that's leave it to the fuzz to come up with that one, right? I'll tell y'all a funny
Yeah.
story here in a little bit, but no, this has been a delightful show, and I tell you what, I can't appreciate having you guys on here enough, and obviously we're going to have you guys on here again because this is fun, and I can only imagine maybe we'll have you can cuss on this show one episode a year.
Oh,
I don't need to cuss. It's not like I got to get it out of my system.
You need to do a late show.
like the red eye used to be.
a late show.
Like
yeah,
3
that might be
a.m.
Yeah.
With Greg Gutfeld, you could do the red eye where it was just nothing.
Yeah, and have a disclaimer at the beginning that the guy in the yellow hat's just going to let it all loose, and you're going to hear things that you don't want.
We will be making a donation to a food pantry. Maybe we'll do it with that. With all the cuss words, we'll make
There
a
we go.
donation to like I rescue dogs, so I think that
There you go.
especially right
Good.
now at this
You're a
time
good.
period.
John Wick. John Wick would love you.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I have two of them sitting right here that I've been keep looking at because I'm in their room right now. But anyway, Matt, again, I can't thank you enough for co-hosting. It is always a lot of fun, and your insight is really cool. And I know nothing about photography, so I think it's going to be good putting you in touch with these guys, to help them figure out exactly what they want to do and what their goals are, and hopefully you can help with that. And again, Blue Falcon Radio Podcast, Matt, Central Florida Bigfoot. We appreciate it very much. You go check out everybody's site, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Good night.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Yeah, keep in touch.
Y'all
Yep.
stay on.
We
Hold
will.
on.